Hey, how you doing? Okie dokie, let's do it to it. Let's analyze. Let's analyze right now. Okay, we're gonna be going over Frank J. Marshall's the best games of Frank J. Marshall. This was his first recorded game. It was in Montreal, Quebec, 1893. This way it said. This was my first recorded game. The occasion was a SIMO exhibit by Wilhelm Steinitz, then the champion of the world. So he's the champion of the world, Wilhelm Steinitz. I was 16 years old at the time. So Wilhelm Steinitz was white, and he played e4. His young opponent played e6, queen b4, and then d5. The standard opening move of the French defense. I was usually more aggressive than this. However, I broke loose later on, as you will see. He played the Tarrasch variation. He played knight to e7. Steinitz usually played f5. And today, knight f3 is probably the most popular and third move for white by knight c3 right here. What he's saying is there's this move here. Oops. There's this move, and then there's the advanced variation. There's also the exchange variation of the French. But what he was saying is during the time in 1893, what was really popular was actually knight c3. This sets up for something called the Winnier variation. Okay, so they both played their knights. Bishop d3 was played by Wilhelm Steinitz, and the queen knight goes to b7. So this was actually the game. Let me see the queen knight. Let me see. I want to make sure. He said another poor move against blacks. Blacks should always. You have to remember. Always play c5 here. This is the French break. What we're looking at is a young Marshall. So you have to Frank Marshall. You have to just be okay with. He's still young. He's 16 years old. He's just starting chess. So he's gonna make mistakes, but you know what? Later on in the book, he gets better. Another poor move against again. Black should have played c5. The queen bishop pawn and limited the scope of the white queen's move. Like this are basically this results in a type of losing game. So, oops. Oh my. What in the world? Oh. That was kind of weird. Sorry about that. That's odd. There must have been a hiccup in the system. I'll get us back. So, pawn bishop b3. This is a setup that he's playing. Knight to knight g6. By no means the best pawn pawn to e5 is much better than if pawn takes the king, then knight takes, threatening the bishop and preparing to actually take pawn takes e4. And then if knight takes e4, the more freeing move, knight c6 would be played, and then eventually they would be a lot freer. He played this move here. So knight, his knight b3, e5 was played, queen e2, and bishop king 3, or bishop to e6. Knight to f3, and then he played a dubious move, which was actually bishop d6 here. Not dubious, it's a mistake. He says, with this move I tried to lay a trap for Steinitz, starting an entirely unsound combination. Bishop to e, he's saying that this move here, bishop to e7 would have actually been better. But I didn't realize that my attack was unsound and made the next text move with basically this piece sacrifice. He didn't realize that this move actually set up for a piece sacrifice. Pawn takes, e takes d5, bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, and then he played the dubious castles, actually the blunder. By castling at this point, black must lose a piece. I could have avoided this by bishop takes the king knight, then the pawn takes, and bishop to e7. I had no such intent when I castled. I hoped that Steinitz would play pawn takes the bishop, where I would launch an attack with rook. He's talking about this. Then after Steinitz would take, he can launch an attack with a rook to rook e8, and then bishop to king, bishop to e3, and then knight to basically here, and this would attack the queen. But then what happened was the bishop took the knight and exclam. Steinitz smiled a little at my inexperience as he upset all my plans with this move, winning a piece outright and skillfully avoiding my attack. Rook e8. I continued hopeful with my attack, but White's 11th move had already demolished it. Excuse me. Oops, sorry about that. Wrong. My bad. Bishop c2. Knight takes e5. Rook takes. Knight takes e5, and then rook takes e5. Bishop king, and then queen to queen to rook, queen to h4. appears I was trying to put over one of these swiddles, but I later became famous if it would have later became famous if White had to make the mistake of castle. This would have actually, hey, how you doing? This is I'm going over this book here. So this gets an exclam mark. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, Steinitz Castle, queen-sided. This is Wilhelm. Oh, it's Frank J. Marshall's Best Games of Chess. It's the one with the English notations in it, not the algebraic. So if I make slight boo-boos or blunders a little bit with moves, you gotta forgive me. I have it. I'm okay in the notation of the English notation, but I haven't been using it for a while. So if I have to delete and then put moves back, you just gotta bear with me on that one. Yeah, he had a this is an interesting. If he hadn't have castled and then played, let's say he played this move. Let's say he developed a rook. We'll say coming over here to attack this bishop. This actually is a horrible move. It's a mistake. I believe that you could. Let me see. What would be the? Yeah, bishop takes g here. That's what it is. Oops, you're attacking here and here. So he castled. Queen to rook 5. Let me see here. Queen, rook, queen 5. Here is the move. And he's trying to take scope on a1. He said, undoubtedly, I was transferring my attack to the other side of the board. So king to knight 1. This is to cut. Steinitz had to do that to cover this pawn on a2. Rook. Let's see. The queen rook would go to queen d8, I believe. Queen rook goes to queen d8. Yep. And then the king pawn goes to f4. This simple but strong move forces me to declare my intent before I was ready. Bishop b5. Bishop c5, I mean. Hold on. Let me get a drink. He can't actually take. If you're wondering if he could actually take here, he actually can't take here because of check. And then basically he's going down in flames at this point. And now it's black who's actually crushing. Yeah, so you have to be careful that Steinitz has to navigate very careful, otherwise he's going to get blown off the board. That this move really puts a lot of pressure in. So he's kind of getting he's feeling a little bit of the squeeze. Let's see here, where am we? Move 17, so F, bishop, c5. Okay, queen to b. This move, surprisingly, is playable. Surprisingly, this move is playable. If he takes here, check. And he's got actually three pieces for the queen, and he has a rook, and so this piece is still hanging. So if he takes here, then what you actually could do is put an attack on the king with your bishop, and if he tries, he can't check. It's a forcing move. This is you'll like this. Frank Marshall is 16 years old, facing Wilhelm Steinitz. He's the world champion at this point, and he's given Wilhelm Steinitz a run for his money. Best games. Sorry. I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes if you don't put an S in there, it won't bring up the right book if you're looking for it. That's how sensitive search engines are sometimes. So, excuse me. Let me see here. Bishop, rook to. Wait a second. What am I missing here? I want to make sure I have this right. Queen 1, that's right. Hold on, let me just make sure. Because I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. That's right. So he switches the attack. King there. There. Pawn f4. Bishop b5. Bishop c5. Queen there. Rook to. Uh-oh, I'm sorry. Apologize about this. This is not the move. Sorry. It's actually this move here. So it's been a while. But this move actually is surprisingly this move that I pointed out here is actually, it's not the best move, because he can just then at this point take the rook, and it's game set match. So he has to play bishop c4. I knew there was a sitch. queen up here because he can't take here. This is sneaky. He can't even play there because of let's see, what's the mate 2? I'm missing some. Let me see, I'm missing some. Rook F1, okay. Okay, forcing sequence move. So he, surprisingly, he can't even take there with rook to A5. So that he's got to navigate really careful here through the landmines that are being set up. Knight takes rook. So he did play that. Queen takes. He did play that. King be there. So the bishop intercepts on B1. Queen takes knight. Black has nothing better. His various attacks have all been skillfully parried, and his last attempt has failed, leaving him a rook down. Now it is just a matter of time. A few more moves and white must win. And the rook sacrificed, the rook bringing over, offering the exchange. I didn't think he would take my rook with his knight, but he did. So basically that's what he said here. And so queen to king 4. He's pushing this pawn now. Oops, wrong. It wasn't. That was a mouse slip there. Bishop, rook. He takes here. Maybe king B1. Bishop. King F1, F8. Rook to D4. Pawn C6. The king rook slides over to queen 1, or rook HD1, I mean. And then queen to bishop. Bishop to queen to C. Oops, queen C7. And oops, queen rook. That's not the move. Queen rook check. My inexperience made me too impatient in this game, and I am afraid I must have underestimated my opponent. So that's he played the French in this one. Do you want to do another Frank Marshall game, or would you like to go into doing puzzles? Puzzles or another Frank Marshall? Okay, puzzles it is, alright. We'll do a game of Frank Marshall a day. We'll do it every day. We'll do one till the book's done. Until the book's done. Do. Let's do board editor. Okay, I gotta clear the board. Okay. White to mate 2. White to mate 2. Make sure if I'm missing anything. No, surprisingly, I'm not missing anything. This is the position for white. Yeah, it's version 2. Do you like version 2? There you go. Surprisingly, white to mate 2. Huh, I have to get used to it. I'm used to the more choppiness of it. It's a lot smoother. It also allows you to enlarge the board, which is nice too. You can actually enlarge. Oops. You can actually enlarge the board. So mate 2 for white. Hoping I have this one right. Let me see. I got it right so far. So good. This one is mate 2. This is kind of a little awkward one. You gotta be okay with sacrifice. You gotta be okay with forcing sacrificial moves. So just you gotta be okay with it. Yep, there you go. That's it. Good spot there. That's a pretty difficult one to find because it looks like the position is totally lost, but in reality it's winning for white. So yes, they say you can't judge a book by its cover or the position by sometimes how you feel. You got to make sure that it's what you're going for. Got a rook here just for you. I get that rook on. Happy, happy, happy. And I need one more knight. And we are ready, I believe. Let me see, just make sure. Yes. Okay. Don't overcomplicate this position. Don't overcomplicate this position. Don't overcomplicate. Oh, that's the hint. Don't overcomplicate this position. It's a mate 2. Yep, there you go. If he goes to d8, you do rook d7. What if he takes? What if he takes? What do you do then? If he plays king takes d6, what do you play? There you go. There you go. So they work either way. This has to get deleted. I only need one pawn. I need a rook. I mean a knight. Give me a knight. Give me a knight. And I'm happy. Analyze the board. And there we go. It's mate and 2. Mate and 2 for white. go. That's it. Kind of a interesting position for sure. This one's a really wonky one, so you're gonna have to kind of be okay with the wonky kind of move. It's kind of awkward. It's an odd move. Let's see if you can solve it. I already have it solved. I was just going to see if you, my chess friends, could give it your best. No. That's a good try. Actually, what would happen is if you took, he would actually go king to, actually, if you checked, I think he could, let's see. Huh. Let me make sure that I'm not missing something here. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So King F6. King F6. Rook G7. I just wanted to make sure. Try it again. Try another rook move. Ouch. Boy, some of these bottles you gotta be careful on. They're pretty sharp. Try another one. Do you need a hint? You need a hint? Oh, sorry, wrong one. You want a, I'll give you a hint. It's a rook move. It's a rook move. I'll give you one more hint. It's a check rook move. It's a check rook move. Do you want to try to do the whole line? I'll give you 1 minute to try the whole line. There we go. Rook takes, and then checkmate on e4. That's the move. It's a brute force checkmate. Brute force. There's no mercy in that one. Yeah, but the problem was the king had a flight square. It needed to be a mate in 2, and you just gotta follow the directions, and when you do, and when you don't make it really, I've noticed some. Don't complicate the moves. Just think, what's a simple brute force move that I can actually play that would give my position an advantage? Let me see. So you're saying, so rook g7 check. Actually, king could go to king would be able to, hey, king would actually be able to go to e6 in that line. King would be able to go to e6. Knight e8 isn't mate. King e6 could be played. He'll just shuffle his king away. Oh, wait a second, not king e6. Sorry, can't go to king e6 because the knight's there. Let me see. Oh, sorry, king. It'd be king f4 or f5. King f5. My bad. King f5. It's king f5 at that point. Because I have the little puzzle here, and I'm working out the moves that you're saying. King f5 after knight e8 check is actually playable. So it wouldn't end up mate in that line. You have to be able to calculate the lines in your mind, and when you get that good, you're getting up there. You're getting to where you can potentially be having a rating, which would be cool. And I mean a title. Titles are cool. Yes, they are. That's okay. Let's make sure. Do I have this all? Yeah, there. Yep, and we're ready to go. Hey, Twitch for fun. How you doing? Mate and 2 for white. Mate and 2 for white. Think brute force calculation. Think as in forcing chess moves, the person who made the book or set up the book, says look at it from computer eyes. How would a computer do a punch? Look for a computer punch move. Think of yourself as white. You're an artificial intelligence or an engine. What is a punching move that checkmates in two? It's like a boom. A Mike Tyson right left punch knockout. I'll give you a second to. Oh, nice. Yeah, you got it there. Okay, perfect. Oops. Let's see here. Oops, I have it as black to move. Hold on. Yep, you got it. King h4. King h4. King takes, and then queen to g3 is mate. And congratulations, you found the other one too. Queen to f6 is mate as well. Great job on that. That was a tough one, but we got it. Okay. Alrighty then. Let's see here. Excuse me. Okay. Right there. Get rid of that pawn. Put the king here. Two rooks. Right there. Right there. Right here. Knight here. Do we have a bishop? Get rid of a rook. We got a no bishop. Gotta put where that is, the king, the knight. So bishop, bishop. Queen comes here. King comes here. Pawn comes there. Here, and I believe that's right. Let me see. So far, I'm doing better. I'm doing it from memory. Oops, I gotta get this bishop out of there. I knew there was one problem. I'm trying to do all this from Simon Williams says it's good to look at a puzzle, try to set it up the best you can from just looking at it and going up. Okay, white to move. I'll be right back. I'll give you a second. White to mate 2, and I'll give you a second to think about this. you're good to go. It's mate. Great job on spotting that. Oh, well, it allows you to do this. I like how you can enlarge or shrink your board. So you can actually make the board bigger so that you can, my Chess Cruncher viewers can actually see the board even bigger. So that is a nice thing. Oh, wait a second. Sorry about that. Hold on. My queen's in the wrong spot. 1 second. 1 second. There we go. Now it's in the right spot. Uh-oh. King's in the wrong spot. Dang. There. That should be right now. Yep. Now that's 100% on. Sorry about that. It's a little bit off too. Had a queen on h2 when it needed to be on h3, and a king on f1 when it needed to be on g2. Oh, nice. Puzzle Rush is fun. There you go. Yep, and away we go. Where we stop, nobody knows. So do we have any bishops? No, we just have rooks. So we just get rooks. We just got rooks. Yes, we do. Okay, I'm happy. Oh, I'm gonna move the queen. Here. There. Ooh. And there's a king. The he's got to come over here. Bring the pawns. Get rid of that, and the knight has to come right here. That should be it. Let me make sure that I'm right as rain here. Good. Oops, hold on. Glad I checked. Queen's in the wrong spot. There we go. Yep. Now, oops, pawns are too far up. Now we're good. Yep. There we go. Oops, I don't have two pawns. Hold on. I don't have two white pawns. Ugh. Okay. Now that should be good. Suppose it takes me a second to do it. Excuse me. There you go. I want to clear the board and then start afresh, so I don't have pawn attack. 1, 2 rooks. Boom. Boom. A knight. 2 bishops. Bump, bump. 1 queen. 1 queen. And a king to boot. Now we're doing pawns for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 rooks. 1 here, 1 there. And then a queen. Let me see. Perfect. Oops, forgot a king. That would help. And now we got it. So I find that, oh, come on. There you go. There we go. We're good to go. Happy. Joy. Alright. White to mate in 2. Find the 2 mates. Find the 2 wait a second, that doesn't. Checkmate, does it? Does it? Okay. Find the checkmate, not 2 checkmates, just find the checkmate. Actually, there is 2 checkmates. There are 2 checkmates, sorry. There's, see here. There's one more. There's one more checkmate. Can you find the other checkmate? After D7 check, can you find the other checkmate? There's one more. Can you find the other checkmate? Yep. There you go. You found both. Great job. Now let's get back to the board. Okay, so we already did that one. Now we got to clear the board and start afresh. Start afresh. Do, do, do. Let's do a rook and then a queen. We need a king, so we need pawns. We need pawns. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Gotta put the king right here. Let's see if we got it. Nice job. Yep, and we're good to go. There it is. Mate and 2 for white. Mate and 2 for white. This one's kind of a little difficult. You may have a sitch with this one. He's amping up the intensity here. Oh, you found it. You found it. Nice. There's one more mate though. There's one more mate. If he plays any move, yep, you got it. You got it. That's it. Nice, spot on, my chess cruncher crew and team. You are right on, right as rain today. Great job. Let's do a king, a queen, and then a bishop. Let's do the pawns for black. A rook, a king, a queen, and then a knight. Thinking that's it. Let me make sure. Yep, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's it. Yep, we got it. This is the last. This is the last one. Okay. Perfect. Just want to make sure that I had it. Yep. Yep. There you go. And if what happens if he oh, king can't go up. Okay, so he has to take. Just do queen mate. Yep. Okay, now we're entering the world of endgame. Are you ready? Are you ready for endgame? Yep. We are ready. Okay, board editor. Clear the board. The pawns get to go there, there, and then here. Okay, pawn, rook, and then king. Yep. Yeah. Yep, we're going into the end game. We're going in for it. Okay. Is this a win or a draw for white? Is this a win or a draw for white? First of all, I want to throw this and ask you that question. A win or a draw? Are you sure? Okay. It's actually a win for white. It's a win for white. The position the position featuring two passed pawns versus one enemy pawn are usually winning for the two pawns. Previous knowledge is important here too, since many positions are won by following basic rules. And any exchange of a pair of pawns and creating a rook and one pawn versus rook position sometimes will arise. So this is actually a winning. If we can exchange these two rooks off, we can actually come over and win. Because think about it, I was testing your endgame understanding. If it came down to it, and these rooks were gone, this rook was gone, and this rook was gone, these two pawns protect each other. These two pawns protect each other. So the king could, if he wanted to, get here, but he can never take, because when he takes, the pawn goes up the board in queens. So there's no way that he could. It basically lose. White can lose here. So king f2 is played. The king must take part in the battle. Yes, go king. King f5. King f3. g5. Rook to e8 to get in behind and then cause a little bit of chaos to this pawn. With the rook preparing to place itself behind the passed pawn, as we discussed in part 6, chapter 6 of the Endgame book of Jeremy Silman. Rook b1, rook f8, king e6, king e4. White isn't too concerned with black's pawn. Instead, he continues bringing his own king up to support the two passers. Rook e1 check, king d3, rook d1, and then king to c4. If rather he played rook g5 or g4, that loses to rook to e8, skewering the rook. It skewers the rook. So he has to actually check. Then you play up and you're now getting ready to push your pawns. g4, king c5, and now we're going to escort our two pawns down the board. Optimizing the position of white's king, he's finally ready to start moving his own pawns forward. Please note, he'll only do so after the king gets in a position to support them. Only move your pawns like this, get them going, if your king is able to support them. Don't just move them right away, otherwise you're going to lose. So g3, rook g8. Now we got this stopped. Placing the rook behind the passed pawn and stopping it from dashing itself and turning into a general. We don't want it to turn into a general. We want to stop it before it gets through. Rook g1, c4. At last, the pawns roll. Woo! Yay! g2. And the king's got shelter too, so he doesn't have any of these cheapo checks. that could queen and you lose a rook. d5, check. King d7, rook g7, check. King e8. Now we can bring our king up. You can avoid rook checks by keeping your king in front of the pawns. King d6. White heads for a winning rook and pawn versus rook endgame. Even stronger if d6. d6 is even stronger. King f8, rook g4, king f7, king c6, rook c1, and then king to d7. Remember our Lucinda position? D1 could actually be played here. If rook takes, then we actually win the we get a, he can come over, we can even pick up if we wanted to. We can check, not worry about avoiding, we don't even have to lose this. And then when the king moves in front, we grab the rook. When he queens, we take, the king takes, and then we set up a winning, he has to move. Then we build our fence. And then we just start closing up the fence here. Just slowly closing it up. So d6 is played. Rook c1. Rook g8. There's also potentially rook, if king f8, rook g4 here, rook takes, rook takes, and then king d7, and we get into a, we transpose into our main line of a Lucinda position. f7, and then rook takes g2, rook takes c4, king d7. White is heading for a Lucinda position, explored in part 4 of this book. Black tries to resist this position, is far gone. His position is far gone. So rook a7, rook a4 doesn't help one bit, because rook to f2 doesn't really do anything. When the king goes to g2, d6 with rook a7, king c6, rook a6, king c7, rook a7, and then king b6, king to d7, and then king c6. And black resigns here, because if he plays here, we actually can push the pawn at this point. And if he checks, then yeah, he can get in here, but at this point we can actually move close to the pawn if we wanted to. And And if he comes down to hold, we can actually come up and create a type of Lucinda. And then this pawn's got a queen. So now we're going to be doing another position. This one is called when a Philidor's position goes bad. So it's white to move. Is it a win or a draw? Is it a win or a draw for white? A win or a draw? Is it a win or a draw? I'm throwing it back into your corner and seeing what you think. Okay, let's explore it. Okay. In part 4, we explored one of the most important rook endgames one can know, the Philidor's position. We saw that it often offers the key to defending a pawn down rook and pawn versus rook endgame. However, what if a Philidor's position goes bad and one isn't allowed to use the main, dominating the rank and stop the enemy's king from advancing, and stops the enemy king from advancing? What do you do? What happens? White to move and cause black pain. That's what he says in this position. We use this diagram in part 4, though in this case we gave black the move. This allows him to end things right away by playing knight to h6. I mean rook h6, not knight, rook h6. When white can't make any progress. However, what if white has the move? In that case, We're going to be turning the page. He can play rook to g6, and it's all over. Can you imagine? This one move ends it. It prevents the defending maneuvering of black to adopt a plan B. Of course, if you don't know plan B off the top of your head, and if you don't remember our lesson about the Philidor's position, the Lucinda position in part 4, checking at a distance, and short and long side of the board, part 6, then you are, to put it mildly, basically up a creek without a paddle. That's what he said. So let's play a few moves so we can see how the knowledge of rook endgame bases a list above. In the flowchart, they allowed you to create. It'll make your life easy. So this right here, this is called the short side. This is called the short side of like if you were to check, this is considered the short side. This side here, all the way over here, is considered the long side, because if you can get a rook here, you could do checks longer. But if the king was here, if white's king was here, you would only be able to get one check in. But this is the long side. You can get a couple checks in and cause some chaos. So king d7. Rook a6 here. Exclam. Excuse me. So black's king isn't safe after all. Now the threat of rook to a8 winning a rook is really bad. So rook to h1 is best. This is the only way that black could potentially hold. We'll soon see why this is important. Rook a8 check, king e8, and then king to d6. Surprisingly, king d6 is an exclam move. Three back-to-back exclam moves. Not back-to-back. Two back-to-back, one non, and then an exclam move. See, if the king if black was to check here, or black were to check here, then you can come here and you're almost in a Lucinda type position. The king has to come over here, or you can actually check and you're winning here. So what you can actually do here is if he stays at this point right there, you can check, come in here, takes, king comes in, and then the pawn's going to come up the board, and it comes up the board. So he can't check. So actually surprisingly, rook e1, we're promoting this in the main line. This is an exclam, only move that's an exclam. The other, if you did the check like the other one, it's actually a double question mark blunder. The key to this position is whether you must have a pre-existing knowledge of the saving ideas or a firm understanding of the basis that allows you to make sense of it, or you'll almost certainly go down in flames. Since if you played rook h6 here, this is actually a question mark. It's a mistake here because e6 is clearly horrible. So king to let me see. I have to make sure. What am I? Hold on. Let me see here. Actually, I think let me see, what did I... Alright, and alright, this is a great position. This is clearly horrible for black. Black's going down in flames, basically. And this one is also a question mark, too. This one also has a question mark basis because of e6, and then king f8. And if rook d8, then it fails to rook to h7, and you're... So this is an idea right here. If rather than this move, if rook here, this fails to rook to h7, and now you're threatening checkmate. If king g8, king f8, rook a8 check, king would have to go to g7, king e7, and white can rush towards forward and actually create a Lucinda type of position with his king here and his pawn on e7. To stop that, white played rook e1. The question 1 is correct. What does this do? Rook e1 makes it hard for white to advance his pawn, as you'll soon see in a moment. Rook a8, king f7. The point of rook c1 e1 now is that white can't play e6 check, because if he plays e6 check, the rook could then take it with check, and then it's a plain draw. So e6 would fall to rook takes, and then it would be a draw. So the only move that could be played is rook promote to main line, rook to a7 check, king e8, and then king e6. The threat isn't substantial. It must be taken immediately. So what he could do at this point is, I want to ask you, my friends, from our chess game understanding of endgame, what is the best move for black here? You're playing as black. What is the exclam move? There's only one exclam move. I'll give you a second to think about it. I'll give you a minute to think about it. Are you sure? Do you remember what the D1 idea did? Remember how we defeated the D1 idea? Try another move. Try a different move. Okay, it's this here. If you played rook d1, you can actually play rook a8 check. Rook intercepts. King takes d8 check. King takes d8. I mean, rook takes d8 check. King takes d8, and then rook f7. Now, when the king comes up, we push the pawn down the board. So there's really only one move. Yep, there you go. King f8. King f8 is the exclam move. King f8 is an exclam move. This is known as going to the short side of the board. We're going to the short side of the board. The idea for black is leaving far more distance on the left side for future lateral attacks or checks with his rook. Without this, his king is getting in the way. Remember, when you check a king with your rook, you always like to have as much distance between your rook and your opponent's king, so that you can do distance checks. So king d8. I think it's had something to do with this here, and if check, then king here, and if here, and if here, then up, if here, and if here, then you get yourself into a Lucinda position. You're in a Lucinda position, so this is probably a, oops, I don't want to promote that. I want to, here we go, promote. This is probably a mistake. Rook a8 check, king g7, and king d6. What is an exclam move here? What is an exclam move here? I'll give you a second to think about it. 1 sec, I'll be right back. What's the best move? Rook e2. Do you want to give it another shot, or would you like me to tell you what the move is? You want to give it one more shot? because that's actually not the right move. I'll give you 1 minute to do it, and then we'll start into the line. Yep, King F8, King F7. Yep, that's right. King F7. That gets an exclam mark. Again, shows that Rook E1. Now the E pawn again is stuck. Also, Rook D1 is threatened, chasing the king away from it. And then what would happen is we win, basically. If you were thinking Rook D1 check, king to E7 is winning. So this is actually a mistake here. Only way to hold. The only way to hold. If black played Rook D1 check, King E7, when white again gets closer to setting up a Lucinda position, and the defender must avoid this at all costs. I'm going to say it one more time. Black needs to stop white from getting a Lucinda at all costs. So you have to stop this pawn. The e-pawn has to be stopped. Rook A7 check. White repeats the position again to set up a completely different kind of test for his opponent. King E8. Queen to E6. King F8. Rook A8. And then King G7. And Rook E8. Now, it's up to you, my friends. What is the move for black? With your knowledge that we've just gone over, what does black play here? It's an exclam move. It's an exclam move. So think hard. Make sure what you're thinking is 100% right. Don't just say what you're thinking. Make sure you work it out. Work it out. I'll give you a minute to think about it. Do you have something that you're considering? I'll give you till 10:23, and then I'll do the move sequence, and then I gotta log. We'll talk about it. You could do it. Come on. I know you can. Give it your best. What is an exclam move for black to hold the position? To hold the position. Rook D1. If he leaves off of the E file, what'll happen is if you leave off the E file, the king has acquired its destinated desire that now you can push up here and you're one step closer to a Lucinda. So you got to stop the Lucinda at all costs. So you're not able to move your rook off the, off the position. Try again. Actually, I'll do it so that you don't have to, yeah. Rook A1, sorry, Rook A1. You can actually do that. I apologize, I forgot. You can move it off, but you have to do it right. You have to do a distance checks. It's an exclam move, Rook A1. If on Rook E1, if he played Rook E2, then King to D7 actually sets up so we can, this is an exclam move right here. Oops, I don't want to promote. King D7 is an exclam. And King F7 fails at this point because if he goes King F7, E3 check does work because you have a rook and a king protecting it now, so it works. So and then Rook D8. After Rook A1, he says this: we can see long distance checks at work. Black threatens to set up a pure easy drawn Philidor's position with Rook to A6 check. Rook A6 check. King F8, F5, and then King to F7. And the game is as good as over. And if he tries this here, you can actually take. Sorry, let's see here. Yeah, so you can actually take here. You actually have to play Rook to A7 and basically prevent this from happening. So, okay, be blessed. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? And then I also have to log as well, so this actually works out really good. Oops, I wrote the, sorry, hold on. After that, sorry, Rook E1, promote to mainline is an exclam idea. And back to our key idea. White can't make any progress since Black has demonstrated his understanding of his endgame. The game can be agreed to a draw at this point. So I think we're going to call it on this. I want to thank you for logging on and participating. And you know what? Our end game is a vital part that we have to go over. We have to remember, like what Bruce Lee said, knowing is not enough, you must apply. Willing is not enough, you must do. Yeah, he also said there are no limits to the human potential. There are plateaus. You must not stay there. He had another quote that we like to think about, and it's knowing, not knowing. He didn't fear the person who practiced 10,000 individual kicks, but he feared the person who practiced one kick 10,000 times. So if we work on our end game and improve and improve and improve, we will be like that 10,000 kick person, because we'll know our end game like the back of our hand. And we have to remember what you think about is very vital. Don't think bad thoughts. Think about Jesus Christ, and that you know what, He's for you. Who can stand against you? And like with Little Engine, what Russ said to Little Engine: if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Either way, you're right. And Tom Thumb Thumb said to Tango, yeah, treasure your victories, learn from your losses, and remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistake that defines you as a person and as a chess player. So don't let that get you down. And remember, chess cruncherism, don't give up, double knuckle down, and get back up. And as Yasser Seramwan would say, every long journey begins with one small step. And we also have one more chess cruncherism. Don't put on your chest crunching glasses and calculating glasses when you sit down OTB over the board or online, and put on those glasses to remember to calculate. Always keep your ground well weeded, and as well, do one thing: don't waste the seconds that the Lord's given you. Use it to improve in your chess career or whatever area that you're pursuing right now. And as always, remember to honor the Lord with the talents that you're given. And when you're studying in most art, what you're gonna and they come over and say what you're doing, like Tigger or Winnie the Pooh, you could say what's a chess cruncher. You could say, I'm a chess cruncher. That's why I'm studying. And they'll say, what's a chess cruncher? A chess cruncher hangs up their coat, hangs up their hat, sits down and study when most won't. A chess cruncher does, and that makes all the difference. And as Wesley So says to the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll push forward, and we'll keep doing our puzzles, Frank Marshall's best games of chess, and we'll do our end game and have fun. And always, always remember to keep pushing forward, honoring the Lord, and always, always having fun. So you know what we say: hoorah, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. And keep doing chess and studying your end game. Bye bye, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow.